For years, the conventional intellectual position, as well as the so-called sophisticated position, has been that popular music in this country was declining because things like rhythm and blues and rock and roll and the like were mechanical and decadent and were the kind of things that adults manufactured for the kids, that the kids didn't really have any say in it. What's your view about this? In other words, what is the kind of popular music that moves you, and where does it come from?
That I just like to listen to?
Yeah, I'll listen to, and also increasingly, as you know, in terms of what people call folk rock, the way you're broadening your bases in a way.
Whatever this folk rock is, you know, I don't really listen to it that much. You know, I listen more in terms of sound, which you know, a few years ago, when there wasn't such a big folk rock or whatever have you, when there wasn't really hardly much of anything, when there wasn't people talking about music so much, it's because you know, there wasn't any kind of sound really, but whereas the sound could be, you know, transformed in a lot of things, a lot of ways. You can get sound. You get a sound with words. You know, you get a sound with just plain bare sound.
What about rhythm and blues and rock? Well, rhythm and blues particularly. What do you find in it of value? In other words, it's been put down.
Well, I'm really no authority, you know. I just listen to it. That's about all. I don't listen to hard, straight rhythm and blues in terms of the Del Satins or the Motions, those kind of people that recorded a long time ago. Just a straight four-chord thing. I mean, it's advanced pretty much farther than that now, and that seems kind of old, you know.
Yeah.
Now the rhythm and blues would be much more contrived kind of chords and different sounding things.
Pardon me, I still don't think we're getting anything, are we?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Want to check it?
Just for a second.
Okay.
All right. Well, what about the people who still say, you know, that there aren't any good songs anymore, like Cole Porter or Jerome Kern, you know?
Well, they're just looking for that kind of music. They're probably right, you know. If they think, you know, there are no more good songs like the ones Cole Porter wrote and George Gershwin, I guess they are right, you know.
But what is the music that's popular now? And it's increasingly by people who come out of the rhythm and blues scene. What is that music saying to the younger generation? Because I've never seen anything quite like the kind of response there's been.
The music that's being played now?
Yeah. You know,
I really don't know. I really have no idea. I know one thing. You know, everybody around the certain age I'm at now, it's about 24. You know, everybody around 24, 25, 26, 23, no matter what they were doing in the past, you know, years, I mean, I know was turned on to rock and roll a long time ago. You know, I mean, it's just something everybody's tried to hide for a long time. You know.
Yeah. What was there in the rock and roll that really moved people your age?
Well, it was just you know, rock and roll and country and western music, which is just a total kind of feeling, which is not the same as you know, watching TV or being taught anything in school or being, you know, just a total other kind of form of sound, and which puts your head in a different place. You know, the reason it died out is because it was, you know, it got saturated, and it got, you know, drawn to a degree. There was no way to make it in it anymore. Like, you had to have friends to play with, you know. You had to have money to buy electricity. You had to, you know, you had to keep a band, which costs money, and that's all very hard.
While it was going, you think it's accurate to say that that kind of music also had more emotion, more direct feeling than most of what else was around?
Oh, sure, it still does. You know, that's it still does. You just can't take that away from it. That's why most people, you can just about pinpoint the people that don't like it. You can just about usually walk on the street and see people that know who wouldn't like it. I mean, they wouldn't like that. They wouldn't like the people that play it, probably. It's got to do with more than just, it's got to do with a lot of things, really, which overlap.
You say you can pinpoint the people that don't like it, like how? You mean the way they walk, the way they hold themselves?
Oh, sure, the way they light a cigarette, you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, what they like.
You mean inhibited?
Inhibited, really, it's just a whole other thing. Something which I don't think is ever going to be brought across to anybody. I mean, because deep down, most people do like it. I mean, they have to like it. A lot of people are, it just represents something a lot of people don't want to even think about, probably. That's why they raise such a commotion. But when you think about it, really, it comes down to it. Is everybody's just putting themselves on, really, because if they didn't like it, the people that they have to let their kids do something. We're speaking now of people who go to school and high school and buy all the records. They have to let them do something because they really don't really give them too much of anything else, so they let them buy records. They don't really know what they're listening to, but now I guess they're finding out what they're listening to. They could easily distinguish the whole thing by just cutting with their allowances, and there would be no more records.
When you say they don't give them much of anything else, you mean much of a feeling of, what do you call it, interpersonal?
Well, I mean, who treats their kids like they treat their friends,
Yeah, that says it. Who are some of the people in the country and western, the rhythm and blues field? I don't mean influences now, but people that you just enjoy listening to, especially.
Well, I don't like to listen to too much country and western people. I like to listen to some of their songs.
Yeah.
That they sing, but I get a little monotonized by listening to too many. I like Buck Owens, so he's all right, and Hank Williams, George Jones. They're all the time. Usually, you can they make some sort of sound, But the other people are just the songs they sing, I think.
How about in the rhythm and blues and rock and roll fields? Whom do you especially, who strikes you especially?
Oh, just name a name?
Just, if you, almost like free association, if you're thinking in terms of just pleasure in listening, who would you think of?
Well, I listen to all the Motown records. I listen to Wilson Pickett. Otis Redding, I guess, Charlie Rich.
Yeah. How about Chuck Berry, who seems to be rediscovered by a lot of people?
Well, he's okay. Chuck Berry.
This goes back to something you started to say before, and it's about the generational gap. I've seen it among some of the kids who work in SNCC and Students for Democratic Society, where you can't trust anybody over 30.
Well, that's not really true. That's just a fallacy. I think that's the right word. Fallacy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
How much of that gap, though, does exist? This feeling that the older generation just isn't with it?
I don't know many of those people. I never really have. That was just a thing from the newspapers. The newspapers seemed to say that nobody likes anybody over 30, and the people that read it believed it. But I don't know if that's true. We never sit around and talk about anybody over 30. Because, I'm almost 30 myself.
So you wouldn't go with the thesis that all adults are almost square by definition because they are over a certain age?
No, I wouldn't. I don't. It doesn't. I have no prejudices on age.
Yeah. Communication depends on two people, right? Essentially.
Well, if there's such a thing as communication.
Yeah. You were saying you're almost you're about 6 years from 30. Are you at all concerned about somehow not becoming insulated, rather? Being not as open as you are now?
No, I have no fears about that. Everything will still be the same. It's too late to change anything like that. It's I'm certainly not going to cop out though and become any kind of school teacher out in Vermont. Living in an old cottage, teaching English once a week. reading poetry to the girls or something. I'm not going to do anything like that.
Yeah. So far as you look ahead, if you do you intend to pretty much stay in what you're doing now?
Yeah, I'll be taking to some other degrees, making a movie sometime. I'll do that. I have a book coming out, but it's just, I mean, it's very average to me, I can't really be excited about it. I've worked on it kind of hard at certain times, but now it's all done, and now it needs very little.
Is that the one that Macmillan's putting out?
Yeah.
Was it about Los Angeles, or?
No, it's not about anything. It's just a book of words.
What's the movie going to be like?
Well, the movie will be like a song, really. It's not gonna. It won't be any kind of. Well, this is the first movie here, and we have to set an example for the rest of the movies. This is gonna be like a song. It's gonna be a straight movie, and maybe a horror movie or something.
Yeah.
Something very natural.
Are you going to write it?
I'll write some of it, yeah.
And who's going to produce it or put it together?
That's not decided yet.
Yeah. Once when we were talking, you were saying that you have no particular feeling of support for groups like the NAACP because they're too middle class, too slow. What civil rights groups are you that interested in?
I'm not really interested in any of them, to tell you the truth. I used to know some of the people in SNCC when it's about 1960, and I've lost all contact. Evidently there was something wrong someplace, or else, I would have been a president of SNCC right now. But I don't know. I can't go along with all this. I mean, it's just laughing matter. Anybody that's a lot of people take all that very seriously, like LeRoy Jones and all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of funny if you got to think about it, because even LeRoy Jones is going to die. I mean, whoever LeRoy Jones is, I just saw him on television.
Oh yeah. So your feeling is that these social movements or whatever tend to get kind of exaggerated in importance?
Well, not exaggerated in importance. Of course, people are starving. People are a lot of people are in bad trouble. But the thing is, either you make your choice, and you go through with it, or you don't fuck around, in other people's lives. I got my own life and I tried my best to handle that. To try to handle somebody else's life. You really have to, be a very powerful person,
Yeah.
You have to sort of you got a lot of responsibility on your hands, and the more people's lives you're responsible for, the bigger the weight is.
Mm-hmm.
Look at President Johnson. Look at him. He doesn't seem like a very normal fellow to me. You can understand why, really.
Not very normal in what ways?
Well, you take a look at him. You can just see a picture of him. You can see that he's a little worried about something.
Yeah. What about, like Joan, for example, has for a long time been involved in things like Vietnam and peace demonstrations and the like. Do you have any particular interest in that?
Well, it might sound very funny, but, I can only talk about it in terms of me,
Sure.
It's like if somebody told me right now, you're gonna have to die in an hour, that would really be nothing I have to clean up, no unfinished business, I could very easily accept it. I mean, and that would be the way it's gonna be. It's I don't really know, on who is gonna be better for all the. I don't know how long people want to live, I don't know if they're looking for eternity and looking to be moralized or whatever have you. why they do these things.
You mean the people who get involved in the peace things, you mean?
Well, no, not this especially. I'm talking about I'm talking about people that aren't really, not really completely straight. You know, people who are afraid of something but act as if maybe they're not. And, you know, I think that's fine. You know, that there are peace demonstrations and all this kind of thing, you know. It's just a little bit more complicated in my mind. I know where it isn't a feeling, but or to put that feeling into words, I really can't do it too good. And if I even attempted, I know it wouldn't come out the right way. And then all in all, I know even if I did, it wouldn't matter anyway to anybody. You know, so it. I mean, I think what Joan Baez is doing is just marvelous. But
it's not your way.
It's just not. It's just. I mean, I think that's just wonderful. But you know, if she ever needed my help for anything, you know, God willing, she'd come and ask. But
you're not going to go out looking for demonstrations or things like that.
No, I've done most of that. You know, I went through that too, and you know, it definitely has to be done.
Yeah.
But you know, everybody talks about. You know, I mean, just the names strike familiar chords, you know, like Jesus Christ. You know, like, look all the good he did, you can say. But, you know, what good where, you know, for who, you know, how, when, you know, and look what they did to him. And everybody's talking about him, you know, but how does anybody know the way he really felt, you know? It certainly has been such a long time ago that I think it's just about impossible to even find out anything about him. It's just been so, you know, people have written so much that, I don't know, you just have to believe, you know?
Yeah.
And that's dangerous business there, just believing, because there you're sacrificing a whole lot.
So that for you, the thing is to live your own life as best you can and stay as straight as you can.
Yeah, stay, you know, just, I guess so. I mean, in terms of those words, you're not really the best, best words. But it's like one time I wanted to write a novel, you know. And so I spent a lot of time there. I spent about 6 months off and on trying to put this novel together. But I never, you know. And finally one day I come to a conclusion, like, okay, you know, so I got this novel put together. You know, like, is this going to be, you know, the novel, the statement, you know, is this my message, my thing? And no matter how many, I had about 1,000, you know, you're not talking about 500 pages of it. I said, no, you know, of course not. You know, it's bullshit. You know, this is nothing. If I finish this novel, I'm just going to have to write another one. If I finish this novel, it's not going to come out until at least 1.5 years to 2 years before, you know, now. It's going to be a completely different thing by the time it does come out. And by the time it does come out, everybody's going to say how great it is, or else they're going to put it down. Meantime, I'm not even going to be there anymore. And it won't even be me that wrote that novel. And from then on, I'll have to live up to that novel. You know, and to be writing another novel. People are going to ask me what I'm doing. I'm going to have to say I'm writing another novel. You know, it's like, it just and when you even get it done, all it does is it helps you to get to parties. You go to more parties, and you know, you can sign autographs and give away free copies of the book, and you know, you can have a ball for a couple of weeks. But I've been through all that with records, you know, and things, and it's not the same thing. Every time I write a song, it's like writing a novel. It just takes me a lot less time, you know, and I can get it down, you know, to where you know, I can reread it in my head a lot. And believe me, you know, like, they're not, the songs that I've written are just not, you know, that's what they are to me, because, you know, it's, I can't stand on any of them, you know. I mean, like, they're just songs.
You don't feel then as if you have to compete with yourself every time you write another one?
No, I don't. I somewhat do, in a very funny way, but I don't really once I can get to in the movement of what I want to do. with the music, it comes very natural, but it's not really a competition thing.
Getting back for a minute to the opposite of Joan, a lot of the things you hear now from, let's say, from the American Legion to Johnson, is how come these kids don't realize that they'd be, how does it go? Are they saying they'd rather be red than dead? Or you know that how that whole thing goes? How do you feel about that kind of slogan?
Rather be red than dead?
Yeah. In other words, you gotta fight this so-called.
I don't really go for slogans in any kind of way, but I mean, I'm sure it's a slogan there. I'm sure there's another slogan that says I'd rather be dead than red, which I wouldn't go for that slogan either. Slogans are just misusage of time, really. It's there's nobody's going to help out the world any. There just is nobody. I mean, you just take a look out on the street and then things change. You can open up that curtain, this whole room would be different. It's there's too many people, that have things to do.
Are you ever bothered by things like the Dominican Republic and Vietnam, in the sense that the whole thing may yet blow up?
Yeah, well, I'm sure it might, but it's going to happen probably, and when it happens, the most I can say is that it wasn't me. But that's that's about all. I mean, I certainly don't want to be walking around with any kind of nuclear thing on me, any kind of my groin, 6 inches, and my elbow, magnetized 1,000 times, and 6 legs and anything like that. I don't want to be caught in that position. I would have to get somebody to. I'd have to have a good friend along, get me on that. But I don't know.
Let me try fantasy for a minute. Suppose you were somehow in a position like Johnson's, and you had a deal with, let's say, the Chinese Communists. What would you do?
Well, first of all, I can never talk in terms of if.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll ask you a question just for the sake of fantasy.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna think that First of all, if I was President Johnson right now.
Let's say if you were president.
If I was president.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. If I was president, first thing I'd do, I'd have all my friends in the White House right away. I'd completely revise the whole White House, and everybody that works there would just look a whole other way. Everybody would have to wear high-collared shirts. They would have to be a section where everybody wore flowers on their tie, and there'd be a whole different set of heroes right away.
Like who?
Well, like I think instead of talking with Martin Luther King about anything, I would have to talk to Roebuck Staples. He would be the spokesman for the, for that, and I would have the whole place just redecorated completely with swings and teeter-totters.
Yeah.
And for the first week, we just have a party to get straight, and then I'd probably send for Mao, tell him to come over and see what we were like.
What else would you do, like in foreign policy?
Foreign policy?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you figured then, if he saw what we were like, then things could be a little less dissonant.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know what he's like to begin with. Well, you see those pictures of all those guys, and all the chicks, and carrying guns, and I know that he probably has. I know that he likes his women to be tough. He would probably come over here and be flabbergasted. Have to have some tough women waiting for him, in the lobbies. I'd fix it up nice for him, if he came over, no doubt about that.
What did you think of the of the free speech movement and all that at the University of California and the way that sort of thing is spreading to a lot of other colleges, is that a good sign or does it mean anything?
Well, it's college, you know. It's that's nice, you know. That really is very nice, and that they do that at college. But it's what exactly does it do, though? You know, for other people that don't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's tremendous that they would have enough courage to do what they did. But you know, I don't really know too much about it. I have all those things that they're.
Mm-hmm.
I can't possibly imagine anybody, you know, wanting what they were wanting. That's all.
What do you mean?
Well, I guess they were wanting to picket or wanting to have free speech.
Yeah.
Well, I have free speech. You know, I don't have those problems that they have. You know, like I don't really have to put up with any teachers. You know, or I don't have to have any degree. I don't have to take any tests. I don't have to sort any kind of philosophies out of my mind. I don't have to memorize anything. You know. I don't have to, you know, look like the next person. I don't have to, you know, I just don't have these problems. I don't have.
You don't have to join a free speech movement.
Well, I don't really have anybody that's supporting me, you know. So I don't have to rebel against this, you know.
Do you ever have any, not regrets, but let's say curiosity about college, about going yourself?
It'd be silly, wouldn't it? I have no regrets about it. I played at some, you know, but I never really get out to see too much. And you know, you know, it's a nice place to be. Their colleges are really nice. You know, they're certainly a lot quieter than the city. The ones out in the country are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, like old age homes. You know, they're nice. I would like to go to one, you know, just to relax once in a while. But you know, just to sit on the banks of some river. Most of them are on rivers, and you know, just do that. But I can't imagine going to any classes or reading any books that they would give me. I imagine I'd start up a few friendships with some of the people around,
Yeah.
but it's, you know.
You just pick up on what interests you in terms of books or anything else, I take it.
Yeah, I do. I don't really read that much, and when I do read anything, it must be small. But you know, I go see movies once in a while, I guess, stuff like that.
I remember you're reluctant to give advice to anybody else, but do you think some of the people either in college or about to go might think a while about whether they ought to go? You know, looking at yourself, for example, not as a model, but
well,
as a...
things were different, you know, when I didn't go to college, you know. Things really were much different than they are now. You know, like, and then there was a group of people, sort of, you know, that were just bumming around the country, you know. And I was one of them, you know. But things seem to be different than they are now. Like, I can't imagine, you know, bumming around the country now with any of these people that are bumming around the country now. You know,
What's
like,
the difference?
Well, see, back then, to make it, you know, was just out of the question. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was more or less a thing of, you know, from here to there, and that's what it was. It was groovy, you know. And it seemed that a lot of the people were groovy then. But now you can still see people that are still doing it, and they're just totally whacked out. You know, like, they're still there, they're doing it, but they're all twisted up, and they don't want to get the feeling they don't want to do it anymore. And even the, well, you know, you can take that whole, you know, the Beat Generation thing. I just read a little bit of that kind of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, like what stuff really was there, except for Allen Ginsberg, you know,
Yeah.
or you know, that's about even all I can even think of. I can't really think of any of those other people that did their thing. I mean,
the ones who are doing it now don't seem to get any kicks
well,
out of
it is a kick, you know, like
Yeah.
you do things for a kick, you know. That's why you really do things. You do things for a kick.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't want to do anything you don't want to do, you know. The hang-up comes in is when most people they get involved in something, they get attached, you know, and then sooner or later they come to the conclusion that they're not getting any kicks anymore, and they see other people getting kicks. Well, that's fine, you know, like that. I guess just happens. But the problem comes in is when you want to stop other people from getting kicks.
Yeah.
You know, just because, you know, it hangs you up. You know, like it drives you farther into suicide. You know, but I can, you know, I don't get too many kicks anymore nowadays. You know, once in a while I do, but I certainly don't want to stop anybody else from getting them.
Just a second.
It's funny to hear these people talking. The next thing's gonna be country rock. You know,
Yeah.
country rock. You know, was Elvis Presley. Hard Elvis Presley. You
Yeah.
know. I mean, how can they say the next big thing's going to be country rock?
Yeah.
You listen to Elvis Presley's first records, and if you have a better name for him, you know, there isn't a better name. All this has been done before. It's just you know, it's like another time going over, only with different times.
Yeah. Did you like those first Presley records when they came out?
Sure, everybody liked those.
Yeah.
You know. I just didn't like them anymore after Teddy Bear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I got all those early records. All of them.
You were saying that you don't get as many kicks now as you used to. Why is that? Do you figure the fame? Or
Well,
or
these are the kicks, you know, like I've done everything that I really want to do, you know. Like now, I mean, it's like I don't get any kick out of, you know, like the first time, say I was in Rome, I saw, you know, I was standing there digging, you know, what do they call that big stadium?
Coliseum?
Coliseum, yeah. And it was a kick, you know, just being, just the whole thing, you know, the whole feeling of being around there and whatever happened, whatever else happened. But the second time I was there, you know, like it just distracted me, you know, like this Coliseum, and how beautiful it was distracting, you know. And then something else, in Portugal, man, and all this beauty was just very distracting, you know. It's just,
do you ever get tired of Big Sur? Do you find that distracting?
I've never spent that much time out there, but I do find it a little distracting, yes.
Yeah. Well, you were saying you've done just about everything you wanted to, and yet you're 24. What do you get to look forward to?
Well, I don't know. I have to think about it. I might start me a bubblegum factory or something, you know, with different kinds of cartoons inside.
Yeah.
You know.
So you haven't lost the expectation that there may be more kicks ahead.
Oh no, nothing like that. Well, it's like it's like, you know, it's not like I can go any place now, you know, and something was usually bound to happen, you know. You know, take your chances, you know. But now I can't really go any place, you know. And even now, when I go any place, it's not where, you know, it's more of a chance anything's going to happen because it's a little different. Now it's sort of like strike and split, you know. It's a whole different thing. I know and I can see through most of the people, you know, that you know, and it's just it's not any fun, you know, and like it's more fun just stopping at a red light and watching the people walk by, you know. That's really a lot of fun.
In the sense that what? But
well, like,
they don't
like,
see you.
No, it's like when you say kick, you know, like I would think in terms of kicks, you know, just getting on a Greyhound bus for 3 days, you know, but you know, and going someplace.
Can you do that?
I can't do that anymore. You know, it's I have to, you know, get the Greyhound bus to come to me, and I have to hire the bus, you know, and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But I mean, it's not really. I'm not complaining or down about it. It's just a thing. That's all. It's got to happen to somebody, I guess.
Yeah. We were talking about college, and I wonder. This isn't quite fantasy, because, well, suppose not you that you were in charge of a school, but if somebody were to ask you, What should a school be and do so that kids don't get all tied up and uptight the way they often do when they
it shouldn't really be that way. Like school, someone wants to be a doctor, they gotta go to school. I mean, obviously they gotta go to school and they gotta learn how to do all these things to be a doctor. But I wouldn't send anybody I know to tell them to go to school, man, unless they wanted to be a doctor. I mean, I don't care what they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to be a doctor, they want to be something like that, lawyer, or, something like, something really hard,
Mm-hmm.
They tell them to go, do it, But if you're going to do it, do it. But the other thing, just going to school and reading and writing and taking tests, I guess, and learning, why things happen, it's just ridiculous in face of things that are going to happen, whether, you know why they happen or not.
So what should you be doing during those years if you're not going to be a doctor or something, specialized?
Well, it's not what you should be doing. It's, you can do anything you want to do, you can hang out in Mexico for 4 years, man, and it's, you should know about a lot of things, which you don't know, which people keep you away from until you get to be a certain age.
Like, for example?
Like, for example, everything, just about anything you can imagine. It's not going to, too many things are looked at as if they're going to kill you, so many habits and things that we're not going to kill you at all, they might check you up, but it's not going to kill you.
You mean like sex or pot or
like anything, absolutely anything in the world. Doing handstands, it's I don't know, it's, when you come to think of it, when a person even goes to college, I mean, I remember I got out of high school, I didn't think about them, but I think about now, like, what did I really know? When I got out of high school, and what did the school teach me?
Yeah.
And I can truthfully say that, I haven't used any of that stuff, which I've learned in 12 years, except, adding, maybe, and reading, and writing. And how to, and that's all, though. The rest of it just seems to be a thing to take up your time, which, it's got to be. I mean, it can't be another way. Who's going to come around and say, okay, we're going to put a course that's going to be much harder now, and everybody's going to graduate by the time they're 9, and then they'll be ready to go to college, which could easily be done, because all you have to do is teach somebody how to read and write. You put them in college, teach them a little math, and that's really all you have to teach them, really.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares who the first president of the United States was? I mean, who cares where Africa is in terms of...
You can always look it up.
Right. You can carry a encyclopedia around.
Yeah.
But, I wouldn't want that to happen to anybody that I knew. I mean, I wouldn't make... most people can't really afford to have their kids be total outcasts, so they wouldn't do that. Most people, I guess, would want their kids to be, with other kids and normal, having a good time and birthday parties and stuff like that. Well, that's all fine, too.
How would you raise your kid?
How would I?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I certainly, wouldn't hide anything from him or anything like that. I mean, a kid couldn't open his eyes anyway, until about 5 years old or 5, 6 years old. I wouldn't imagine I'd even be around by that time, so I wouldn't have that problem.
Why do you think you won't be around by that time?
Well, obviously it could happen,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not counting on being around, I'm not counting on being not around, but...
You just don't look ahead that far anyway.
I can't look ahead that far,
This is interesting. You got out of that lockstep, the whole education, career thing. And as a result, you're a lot freer in many ways than a lot of people. What was it in your background and how you grew up that let you do that? Because you started, I guess, like everybody.
Well, where I come from is different than around here, You can do just about anything you want, It's more or less, there's no distinguishing, there's no lines of, poverty, that kind of stuff. Everybody's more or less the same. All the towns are, it's just a whole other thing, It's not, you don't really have that much, I mean,
Nobody had that much.
No.
But still, most of the kids you were growing up with, I'm sure went.
Well, a lot of sure. I don't know. I have no idea. My uncle is a professional gambler. I've seen him once in a while. Maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. I don't know really what it was. I'm, you know, there were a lot of people. I'm not the only one that left there, traveling around like me. There was people that, everybody left there. I don't know really if anybody that stayed there. There's nothing really there. Everybody my age I know left. I don't know where they are. Once in a while I hear from people, but I don't, I know that there's nobody stayed there to, you know.
So in a sense, there was an advantage in the way it was because it sort of got you to leave.
From my very first time of consciousness, I know I wanted to get out of there. It's really, you know, everybody did.
Well, you first hit the road when you were quite young. Was it about 12?
Well, that's just running away, but that's just a thing because it doesn't mean too much here because it's not like hitting the road from New York for the West Coast or anything like that. The towns are only 10 miles apart, you know, there's thousands of them, so you can't really get too lost. It's just a thing, you know, it's running away. Everybody runs away from.
But then, as I remember, you went farther distances a little later on.
But everybody else did it. It wasn't my own idea. It was a common thing to do. I think everybody ran away at least once or twice in their lifetimes. You know, it's. I mean, I remember that very distinctly. Everybody did it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Was there anything that you learned just in the process of doing that? About, you know, not only the traveling, but in doing it and having the courage to do it. That,
it didn't really take much courage. It just took, you know, that feeling, you know, like, let's get some kicks, you know. That's about all it was. You know, you could actually hop trains where I come from. They weren't freight trains, boxcars, or trains. You could actually hop them and go for a ride, you know. I've done that.
So it was a kind of a mobile existence to start with.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you know where part of the country it is, it's there's nothing there, you know. I mean, it's not such a great thing. It really isn't. I mean, if I was here in New York City, I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have turned out completely different. It's
gone to Bronx High School of Science.
Sure, you know, I would have probably been a lawyer by now if I would have stuck to. If I would have been more lucky to be born here. But really, you know, it's nothing special.
You once said that you didn't want to work too often. You'd rather have most of your life and time to yourself. It seemed in the last year, haven't the tours been increasing?
Yeah, they have. I'm working now a lot because I dig it now more. So it's a different thing now. I was gonna quit when I was playing all by myself. I was gonna play. I was very mixed up on how long I was gonna really do it. To play by myself. It's another thing altogether. I would never want to do it again. It really is a whole other thing. It's not. It's See, what it comes down to is that I've written a lot of long songs, you know, and the thing about writing them and recording them, that's one thing, but to get up on the stage and sing them night after night, it gets a little hard because you're not really there in your right mind, you know, half the time. And to get up there and sing all these songs, which...
what do you mean by not being in your right mind?
Well, just being in a mind that's is, well, if we can put it this way, like people come to the concert, they're all ready to see the concert, but like you're not really ready to see them.
Yeah, I do.
You know, it's you know, you can translate that in terms of, you know, somebody coming over ringing your doorbell you don't want to see, right? Like it just happens this night that 3,000 people ringing your doorbell.
Yeah. So you travel with a group now all the time?
Yeah.
What's the name of it?
Well, we call Levon and Hawks.
How do you spell the Levon?
Levon.
Yeah.
Levon. He's from Arkansas. He's a drummer, and he's Robbie. Robbie's the lead guitar player. I've known Robbie for some time. What that comes down to is just that, you know, you can't really get people to play with unless you can pay them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to cheat anybody and tell them, promise them anything. Now it doesn't cost anybody anything. I mean, it'd be foolish not to, you know, pay them, not to play with them, and you know.
So that's one of the reasons you're working more, huh?
Yeah, it is. Also, I know what's happening is not totally. It is. See, before I used to go to concerts. I used to play these concerts. I used to say, "Well, would I come to see me tonight?" And I used to have to be very truthful and say, "No, I wouldn't come here. I'd rather do something else. I really would." But that was just me, you know.
Now the weight.
So now I would think, well, would I want to come to hear this tonight? And I gotta say I would.
I mean, having them with you increases your own enjoyment in performing.
Well, no, not really. It's another thing too. It's you know, it's the songs are all they don't have any influences, you see. I mean, I know this to be true. These songs, most of them, and you know, all of them really, like on the stage now, what they are in being, like, is not influenced, you know, by it's not a trying to be something else kind of thing, you know. Whereas a lot of stuff is like you can listen to a lot of records and things, or go see a lot of shows, and it wouldn't really matter who was doing it, you know.
Yeah.
It would you know, you could easily find the same thing down the block, which is all right, you know. That's I'm putting down stuff, you know, anything, because it's all very good. But I know what we're doing is different. I don't know what exactly it is that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's different though. It's not folk rock or this kind of thing. It's, if you want to define it as that, that's all right too. It doesn't matter, but I've listened to it and I actually dig it, you know.
Where would you say, aside, not talking influences, but what are some of its roots, like Negro blues and country music? And
no, the roots are a little bit hard to define in that. It's not. It's everything really, you know. It's just I don't know. I can at least look at a lot of first songs we wrote, like, hey, Woody Guthrie, I wrote you a song, was definitely influenced by Woody Guthrie.
yeah.
You know, Highway 51 on our first record was definitely influenced by Everly Brothers and you know, Charlie Pickett. On the second record, you can still see the influences, you know, of stuff like that. Like the first record, there was Muddy Waters influence on it.
But now there aren't any influences really. Huh?
No, the influences are sort of mashed up, you know, like the influences in its given form anymore. The influences, I know it all now. I've known it for quite a while, you know. I know it all. I don't really play too much, you know. It's just a thing now. It's, I know how to do it now. I know the music. I know I don't have to think in terms of what kind of tune I want these words to, you know. It's more or less of I don't have to hold anything back now. Before I used to have to hold things back. I had to hold melodic things back. I snuck them through, but as many people really realized it. You know, I snuck them through on my second record. It's not no very pretty melodies in, but...
Why did you have to hold them back?
Well, I still had to make it then. I still had to, you know, survive. You know, I still had to, you know...
So you mean you thought it might be too far out?
Not too far out. I didn't want to really, you know... I didn't really want to, you know, I mean, if somebody was going to give me $350, you know, and if I did a certain thing which wasn't that hard for me to do, you know, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, if they wouldn't give me the $350, you know, if I went along with what you want to call ideals, so my ideals aren't that important to me. I don't really care. I don't even have any, you know, so it didn't matter. If somebody was going to give me $350, you know, and if I did a certain thing which wasn't that hard for me to do, you know, I'll do it.
Yeah.
You know, if they wouldn't give me the $350, you know, if I went along with what you want to call ideals, so my ideals aren't that important to me. I don't really care. I don't even have any, you know, so it didn't matter. You know, like. That was just a certain thing, I just transferred a personal thing to that. It wasn't really that big when I started. I was just playing. I had no idea I was going to be playing now. Mm-hmm. You know, when I started playing out, I was just playing acoustical guitar, you know, easily understandable. That is, and the songs are very understandable too. I make bread, you know, mm-hmm. Not to scuffle. I mean,
if you figure if some of the songs that you're doing now, where the lyrics Well,
No, they are in their perfect form now. They're not in their, they're not in their form of hearing it perfectly.
Yeah.
They're not in the form of perfection, but they're in their perfect form. They're where they're supposed to be now. They're not, in any kind of, any kind of attempt to disguise anything. There's no. It's all straight right down there. It's all.
Yeah.
None
What I meant was, do you feel if you had started with that kind of song, it might have been harder to get
Well, I
going?
did start with that kind of song.
Yeah.
I did start that way, but I couldn't make it that way.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Totally impossible. It would have been total failure. I didn't really think. I didn't look ahead and say, well, haha, if I do it this way now, I can do it this way later.
Yeah.
Plan it all,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, because, but that's what it is. I mean, it's,
Why would it have been so impossible?
well, like I say, it's, you have to pay everybody. You have to, to have a band that makes music. Well, first of all, if you have somebody, playing with people, you're playing with people. When you don't have anything, that means you're all together. Everybody just doesn't hang out in their house and, and you say, come on over. Like if you're going to make something, you really got to make it by yourself, or else have it all set up for you.
Well, do you think that the songs you're doing now would have been harder for large numbers of people to understand at the beginning?
Oh, sure. Also, I couldn't have written those songs back then.
Yeah, so
all these stuff I
two
couldn't
go
have
together.
written. But shit, if I just came out and sang Desolation Row 5 years ago, man, I probably would have been murdered.
How did you feel like at Newport and at Forest Hills when some of the, let's say the old audience, or they thought they were the old audience, got so upset at hearing the electric guitar and all that and the new kind of
I figured
material?
there's a little boo in all of us, and if they had a good time, what can I say? What can I say? If they had a good time booing, I mean, there's just nothing I can say. Then I feel happy about it. I mean, if they didn't have a good time booing, I gotta think something's wrong somewhere. First of all, when you say old fans, I know they're not my old fans who booed.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're not my old fans. They think of themselves probably as my old fans, but they're not my old fans, really. Old fans are people that are like, we're in that 1,228 people that bought my first record. Those are old fans.
Yeah.
Old fans are the 67 people that came into Gertie's.
Yeah.
Or the people down at the gas side. They're the old fans. They're the people that were at the just hung around on the east side. And stayed in apartments. People I don't even see anymore. People I haven't seen who thought I had it made on my second record.
Yeah.
Like they said, okay, Dylan's got it made, and that's it. Well, I'm on the second record. That's what success meant then.
Yeah.
When I made my second
How
record.
come they don't see you or you don't see them anymore?
I have no idea where they are.
Yeah.
It's just scattered. I hear from them too once in a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see them once in a while. They're scattered all over. They really are.
Have you heard that thing Murray the K has been saying in the air? It goes in a poem that I can't remember, but the idea is the people who boo Dylan are as prejudiced as the KKK.
I believe that. By all means.
Are you at all ever concerned about the fact that now that you're making it in the way most people talk about making it, a lot of bread and all that stuff, that it'll be at all difficult not to be tempted to keep on being popular? In other words, to stop going your own way.
Yeah, there's always that temptation, but I just know too well, that it's just gonna, it's just now, it's not. I refuse to be any kind of, Lawrence Welk or something like that.
Mm.
I don't know what else I can do. I'll continue making the records. They're not going to be any better from now on. They're going to be just different. That's all. This was the last record I made was I can't imagine them. Whereas when I made my last record before this, I still knew what I wanted to do on my next record. I know what I'm going to do on the next record, but I know it's going to be the same kind of thing, just a little different.
How can you be so sure it's not going to be better, that you're not going to find something else beyond?
Because on this last record, it's just too good. There's a lot of stuff on there which, I
What's
would
the title
listen
of that
to.
one?
Highway 61.
Highway 61. Revisited, yeah. You don't call what you're doing now folk rock, but how did you move in that direction? You know, bringing in the electric instruments, having that kind of rhythm, that kind of bass.
Well, I've always done it. Even, it was there on the second record for one session, if you remember.
Yeah.
And the reason it wasn't done anymore is because I just didn't have the bread to pay anybody else to come in. We just did it for that one session. I didn't want to pay anybody else.
So it's not so new at all.
No, it's not new in my mind. It's new in a lot of other people's minds, but I guess it's not new in my mind.
What's your reaction, I think now, of Erwin Silber? To me, it's an idiotic position, but it's taken. Dylan isn't singing the protest songs anymore. That must mean he's sold out, that kind of jazz.
Well, that's his problem, It's I have really no reaction to it at all. It's just it's all the other thing. I'm glad that if he's happy, I wish him the best, but he can, I don't care. It doesn't matter what they say about me. It really doesn't. If anybody could really understand that, as soon as long as there's trouble about me, I'm going to be around, as soon as everything gets straight.
Would you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, as soon as they, start to, I don't really know what they say, I really don't know the ridiculous things they say. I know some of the things I do wrong. I do a couple things wrong. Once in a while I do something really wrong, which I really can't see when I'm involved in it, and then after I look at it later, I know it's wrong, I don't say nothing about it. It's got nothing to do with music, though.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing is the only thing that means anything to me. What I do is wrong, but this thing about, I'm not singing protest songs, they want to do that, I have absolutely no contact with that.
Yeah.
I have no respect for anything that, they stand for to begin with, it's, and not in terms of that, but in terms of, not in terms of, I don't mean for them personally, but like I have no respect for the conversation on what if somebody got something to say, I just don't have any respect for it. I think it's vulgar, obscene, and there's the idea of somebody having something to say.
A message.
A message
yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
It's, then again, like we have the literary world or whatever have you, the museum types and this kind of thing, which is also I have no respect for. I just can't make it. It's just a total, thing which I just can't see. In my mind, if something is, artistic or valid or groovy or nice to be with, it should be out in the open. It should be, in men's room, and it should be, places like that.
You were quoted as saying, like, what you have in the museums and what are in the books now really have no relationship to what's happening, to what's real. And
well, it never has, Yeah. It never really has. I don't see how it could. I really don't understand, I'm not involved in that side of it, but see, the sing-out world just overlaps into that kind of world.
Yeah.
Whereas that is really why I can't really pay too much attention to it. It's just a stagnation thing of putting books on the shelf, like once you read a book, you just put it on the shelf and there it is, If you want to buy a painting, man, you gotta go out and pay a lot of money for a painting. You want to see paintings, you gotta pay, you gotta pay to go in the museum. If you want to, see dancing, man, you have to mix with these theatrical people. You want to see a play. Look at a lot of people you have to sit next to if you want to go see a Broadway play. Look at all this stuff, which is really, in terms of just, nobody with, $1.98 can go out and have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It's like, I think a person's more lucky if they can buy a car, man. Buy a car with a radio. They're much better off than if they have, it's straining to go see all these Broadway plays and museums and stuff. It's because the same thing is on the radio.
Yeah, I remember you being quoted as saying that it's on the radio and on records that you get a sense of what's happening.
Well, it's not a sense of what's happening. It's like the things now. I don't know if you know the Motown Music Company.
Yeah, I get all their records.
Well, just like to listen to one of those records, like granted, like they might all sound the same and stuff like that, but that's like listening to one of those records. I mean, if you can't, if you can't understand the whole total thing, on what it's all about, then you gotta go to plenty of museums, man. Really, you gotta go to museums, drink a lot of coffee, and wear a banana, man.
Somebody was saying, though, he said he started to play some of those Motown records at a very slow speed, and he said he was, quote, shocked, unquote, because some of those lyrics were very, what was the word, lewd. Does that bother you at all?
I don't think they're lewd on Motown.
Yeah.
They're usually, not lewd. Say, I've had stuff banned for me for being lewd. It all depends on what you think is lewd.
Yeah.
Lewd.
How would you define
I
it?
thought Lewd was the name of a person. Lewd. John Lewd. I know John Lewd.
Is there anything in words that, like Lenny Bruce will say, there's nothing in a word that can be bad, which is just a word.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't see how you're thinking. There's, I'm not afraid of words. I mean, maybe a lot of people are afraid of words, but that's, that's who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
People are afraid of words. A lot of people are afraid of words. Well, that's a shame. That's worse than being frightened of a dog.
That line's gonna last. Hugh and McCall had a thing where he said that you were so eager to get immediate success, you deliberately wrote down to your audience, and he said you avoided, during the protest song period, you avoided basic issues because you had no real anger. Your passion was manufactured.
Oh. Who's Ewan McCall?
He's that Scottish actor and folk singer,
Is he famous?
In Scotland.
Well, I don't know, I've never written down to anybody.
Yeah.
I certainly, if he says I wasn't angry, I never met him really. I don't know what he does for a living, Is he,
He plays clubs in London and he records, that kind of thing.
is he famous?
Among the real hardcore folk people.
Well, he's probably a little bit angry, that he's not really famous, really famous, but, I certainly can't, he's not, I don't even know the fellow, I can't really comment on anything. I'm sure he's got good intentions, but...
Yeah. Do you ever feel a weight at all at the fact that there are all these kids who they not only listen to the records, but it's almost like some of them try to absorb as much of what they think is going on those records as possible, and if they don't make you a model, they're certainly being very influenced by what they think is you. Does that ever...
Well, I think it's a good thing. I know that, first of all, what do you mean? Like,
well, I know kids starting 12 up, and they say that this guy is, nobody manipulates him, he goes his own way, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, that's right, but they can't very well do it at 12.
Yeah. But do you feel any responsibility in that sense?
No, I have no responsibility towards them.
The music just says what it says, and that's it.
It's the music, yeah. I'm certainly not going to tell them to go out and do anything vulgar. I have no responsibility towards the fans. They're big grown-up people.
You were saying that a message song is vulgar. Using message in another sense, though, so far as you could put it into words, what is it you're trying to say through the songs you're doing now?
Well, I'm not trying to say anything anymore. Once upon a time I tried to say, well, I'm here, listen to me. Once upon a time I tried to say, I'm here, I need some bread, and I want to, will you let me stay at your house tonight? That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I don't have to say that anymore. And now it's just letting, the songs are just somebody else is hearing them. That's all it is. it's like if they'd be there if anybody listened to them or not. You know, they're not manufactured songs. They don't, you know, they would be there. You know, they exist, and whoever listens to them, that's none of my business.
And what they get out of it is none of their business either.
None of my business either. You know, it's I know what they are. You know, but I can't tell somebody what they are. You know.
Nor can you tell anybody how to react to them or what they're supposed to get out of them. How do you account for because it's not just a passing thing, at least not in terms of the 3 or 4 years, of this great attraction you do have for more and more young people? You know,
young people are really, young people they want to have free minds, you know. They want to be, they want to, because, you know, they're young, you know. Whereas people once, you know, like once they get out of college or go to college, they get involved in their lifetime thing, and they really don't have time to be, you know, they sort of really know that, you know, it's all kind of useless, and, you know, they can't really make such a big fuss over somebody. You know, they can't really plan to go see a concert, you know, months ahead of time. You know, things don't have the same attraction for them, and they have to put it out of their minds. You know, like they have to look down on a lot of things, you know, because it makes them feel better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas kids, man, the kids don't have to think like that. They're all you know, home, and they want to get out. You know, it's still another thing to them.
Do you have any expectation that the kids listening to you now and being moved by what they hear, that some of them anyway may be somewhat different, that they won't get trapped in that kind of adult box, and that maybe you've helped not getting them trapped?
No, I don't think so. It's not that kind of thing, you know.
I guess we ought to stop till we Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I had started to ask about whether you thought there was any hope that at least some of the kids now, particularly those listening to you, might not get into that adult box, and maybe if they don't, one of the reasons is the kind of stimulus you gave them.
Yeah, but it's not in my mind, though. My way of thinking. I don't really. I don't think in terms of the people that listen to me. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think in terms of the records, of who buys the records. You know, like when it comes, you know, time. It's all in terms of what's happening here, around here. It's, you know, a total other world than a teenage market. I'm not going to fall for being any kind of spokesman for them or trying to teach them anything, because it'd be kind of silly. You know, it's a whole other thing. If it happens that way, you know, then fine. But it's.
You're not out to save them.
No. I certainly wouldn't run over them on the street or anything, you know, or if somebody, you know, needed a mouthful of water, I'd probably, you know.
But you can't save their souls for them.
No, I can't save their souls. I can't save their souls, no.
There was a quote in a Newsweek piece where you said, I've never written a political song. Songs can't save the world. I've gone through all that. When you don't like something, you got to learn to just not need that something. Is there anything to add to that?
No,
that's pretty much what you feel.
Yeah.
And the idea that, you know, like the Pete Seeger idea that you can change men's hearts and that sort of thing.
It's not true at all.
Yeah. Can anything? I mean, do you have any hope that there might be a new society, to use that kind of old terms?
I know. No, I don't. You know, I didn't know. I don't even think in terms of society. You know, it's society. You know, fights among itself. You know, all societies do, I guess. And I'm not really even part of any society like that. I don't really know. You know.
I know the early write-ups used to say, well, here's Dylan. He's a social critic. He's showing us the hypocrisy in American life and all, and the...
Yeah, but see, it never was really valid. They could say that very easily about me. You see, it doesn't take much, you know, balls to say that. or to write me up like that, because in fact, like, it's very easy to see I wasn't even a part of the society, their society. They could come around and see the concerts and write stories about me and see me at a party or something, but it's very easy for to say, he's condemning the society, when I wasn't a part of that society. It's very easy, for somebody to get kicked by somebody who's not a part of that society. Now let's say somebody like, General McNamara, he starts criticizing the society. Now they're going to start worrying about it a little bit. But nobody has to worry about anybody from the outside that's very evidently on the outside criticizing their society, because he is on the outside, and, he's not in it anyway. And so they can just keep themselves happy, and think that something, is romanticize things, but it's not true at all.
Do you, or did you consider yourself from the outside a social critic, or was just?
No, I wasn't really a social critic. It was just like, it's like I knew where to put the song. I knew where the slot was. That's all. Nothing more to it than that.
Yeah. Speaking of being outside the society, one of the things that Joan is doing is herself and trying to get other people not to pay income tax as a way of protesting foreign policy. What's your view of that kind of criticism of the society from the outside?
Well, she doesn't live in a society. You can't go around criticizing things you're not a part of. Like, if that's no way to make something better. I'm sure that she's got a very good point there. Not paying her money to the tax department. But if that's more. If that's a question, like, am I going to do it? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to pay. I'm not going to get in trouble with those people. I live here. I wouldn't have what I have really in this country unless it was this country. Wouldn't have it in another country. I'm not, going to go along with them. I'm not going to go along with anything they do. I'm just not going to be a part of a lot of these things which they do. That's all.
Yeah.
But that's not. I'm not trying to wave any flag. That's just me. If I was going to, not pay my income tax, that means first thing all the papers are going to come up and they're going to say Bob Dylan doesn't pay his income tax. And it's, it's like, what good's that going to do? I mean, they don't need my money. It's just a form of, thing what you do. That's all. It's not going to make a dent or anything.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to pay their income tax, that's fine. If somebody doesn't want to pay their income tax, that's fine too. I'm certainly don't condemn anybody that doesn't pay their income tax.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't really pay their rightful income tax.
That's
it's
true.
Like, to come out. I think it's kind of a bad point to come out and stress it, because it's going to be hard on a lot of other people who really don't pay a lot of their income tax.
You mean there's people are going to start looking more closely at all them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, and this is Squareville, but people who say, well, isn't Dylan in a sense playing a role, because he's not a country guy or whatever, but the dress is informal, and to let's say the Columbia record context, it's if not bizarre, at least very distinctive. Is that a kind of a stance, or just more comfortable?
Well, it's just clothes I wear. That's something which I certainly don't. Hey, I dressed in blue jeans for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I dress in shirts and clothes, and everybody says, look how funky he looks.
Yeah.
They made a big point out of it. Well, it doesn't take much thinking. Like, I didn't really have many clothes. Back when I played on, I didn't really have many clothes. I didn't even know what clothes were. Like, now I'm not going to walk around like I used to walk around. I got money to buy better clothes now.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I walk around like a, like a clown? I look like a normal person now. I want to look like.
But also, you're not going to go for Brooks Brothers or whatever, because that's not your
Well,
style.
that's it. I don't like that style, no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that Ivy League style, no. I don't like that.
What about the feeling among some people that you become, in a way, your own kind of establishment, surrounded by people kind of hard to get to, and does this jibe with, the feeling that you're talking about, everybody being egalitarian and no pomp, no...
I'm not talking about anybody. That's their own paranoia.
You don't feel that you've become that much of like the old movie star thing with the hangers-on and the Sinatra?
Oh, I haven't
and
got hangers-on.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Getting back to the look thing again, like Sonny and Cher, is there any significance, do you think, to the long hair business and all that?
No, there's not really that much significance. It's just either you like to, wear your hair a certain way or you don't. It's certainly infested a lot of minds with, with trouble, but I really see no reason for it.
You don't think anybody's trying to prove anything that way?
No, it's not that thing at all. Well, I must admit, it looked pretty incredible at first when you see, when you went, if you've ever been to England and you see people just look a whole other way over there,
Yeah.
And they really look like their ancestors, or whoever, the Prince Valiant, and all kinds of weird people. Over here, they don't, there's nothing, can't even compare to what they look over there. They had a thing in some magazine a while back showing long hair first in the United States group, and they showed Beach Boys kind of people with hair that comes down a little bit, on the back of their neck, and they showed some kids in Chicago rebelling with their hair coming down a little bit on their forehead a little bit, and somebody else, in Hollywood, California, with a little bit over their ear. Yeah, it showed, and then they had, last page they showed a picture outside of a pub in England, with kids about 17, 18 years old, were just standing around, and just no comparison in terms of people, man. Like they just, you could tell that they didn't have, they didn't worry about long hair,
It's not rebellion or anything like that.
No, it's not a rebellion kind of thing. It's just another way of kind of thing, which I don't know. I guess most people can't really see themselves doing. It's an attitude, I guess.
The attitude being
that attitude of of why not?
Yeah, that's it. Why not? It's like I could ask once a week, why you got a beard? Why not? This why not thing, do you feel that among the younger generation there maybe is becoming more freedom? And like, for example, the kid, more and more of the younger people using pot or LSD or being a lot freer about sex.
I don't really know that many of the younger people. Like that really is, that's fine that they use pot and LSD and heroin and sex and everything. That's groovy, but I don't really know any of them. When you speak of young people now, you mean kids in high school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't really. I really have no contact with them directly. I read about them in the papers.
Yeah.
But I don't really.
From what you read, do you think that gives some hope that there'll be again, when they grow up, they'll be less hung up with conformity and what's safe?
Yeah, but what it comes down to now is that somebody learns something so fast, by the time they're 21, they know that it's all bullshit, and you got to really think of something to do.
You mean the thing like pot or LSD just isn't going to be that much?
Yeah, well, most people, like you get to it, a lot of people get turned on when they're 45, and they realize what a waste everything's been. I know some people like that, they're really, really, they're happy that they kind of really know a few things, but they really go, shall we say, go to pot, after they quit their jobs and they just sit around the house and laugh.
This is with pot, you mean?
So, people that really sort of understand that at 45 that they've just been really hung up their whole life, So it's necessary to think about if the chick is with somebody else, man. If it's just the world is filled with too many people,
But by turned on, you don't mean to anything, just to a realization.
Just to a realization of things, There's many thousands of ways to realize things. They have even groups across the country. They have self-realization groups you can become a part of.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee that if you try pot, that's going to turn you into any kind of realization of all.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody smokes pot. Pot is like sort of behind the times now. It's like to get busted for pot is kind of like it's not really. It doesn't really make much of a stature anymore.
What does LSD?
Nothing really get busted for any of that stuff. It's just it's kind of like it's just a sign of very uncoolness, unless they plant it on you or something.
You were saying that if the kids now, they learn it so fast that by 21, it really has no meaning anymore. In the sense of what? That they realize that too doesn't
Well,
give them any answers.
they realize that it's really a drag to plan for tomorrow their whole life.
Yeah.
And realizing in terms of really hard reality that tomorrow never comes. Like you always wake up and it's today.
Yeah.
You know, like tomorrow just never seems to come. And, you know, and there is no yesterday.
Yeah.
So what's left is just, you know, nothing.
Or
But-
live in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know a lot of people know this. I know a lot of people know this. I didn't know this really. So, you know, when I was 16, 17, but a lot of people know it now. A lot of people at 16 really know now that, you know, the communication is so great. You know, communication of TV, you know, and radio and letters can get across the country fast, and telephones, man. It's like, there's no reason for anybody not knowing anything, really, by the time they're that age. And a lot of people don't. You know, a lot of people, you know...
By knowing anything, you mean knowing, again, that it's all
Well,
present?
and now it's all in presence, like, to know pot, you know, or to know any drug to know any drug is fine, and it's not going to fuck you up, you know. I mean, that's one thing.
Mhm.
But to know it in terms of not saying anything about it, that's another thing.
Yeah.
You know, anybody, you know, they smoke, you know, pot, you remember smoking pot the first time in Whoopee, and you gotta tell your friends,
Yeah.
man, this kind of stuff. I mean, that's not really, you know, so great or anything like that. You know,
It's like what counts is not whatever it is you're using or not using, but again, that realization about the futility of planning for tomorrow.
yeah, the thing of, like, it doesn't even matter, you know, like, if you know, it's a silly thing to even, to discuss. I mean, you see lectures all the time in the Village Voice, lectures on everything, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything. They talk about, you know, the relationship of Gandhi to, you know, to pipe tobacco, man, you know, and I'm sure they're going to get a hall filled, you know.
Yeah.
You can see reasons for the, you know, the coming of the camel, and, you know, like, there's thousands of people there. They're going to go see it, and they, of course, they all wear glasses, you know, and, you know, and, this is not really a valid world. This is, you know, this is a, you know, it's a very, what are you going to call it? I don't know. As a lot of people call it, intellectual kind of world. It's it's boring, you know. It really is boring. They don't do anything.
Then I know some of the kids in Students for Democratic Society, you know, who are working in the ghettos, and they say, well, the kids who figure they have the answer through pot or whatever are really running away from everything.
Well, nobody feels as if they have to answer through pot and all this kind. I don't want to make this kind of a drug interview or anything, but like LSD, like once you take LSD a few times, you know, I mean, LSD's a medicine. You know, like you take it, and you don't really have to keep taking it all the time. It's nothing like that. It's not that kind of thing. You know, it's, you know, whereas pot, you know, nobody got any answers to pot. Pot is, you know, pot's not that kind of thing. I'm sure the people that say that the people who figure they got the answers through pot, you know, first of all, those people who say that, then they're just inventing something, and the people that think they really actually think they got their answers through pot probably never even smoked pot. You know, I mean, it's like pot is you know, who smokes pot anymore anyway? You know, pot is.
It's getting back to music. You were saying that you like the early Presley. I wondered about somebody like Johnny Cash now. How does he affect you? Because he's the guy
that's a very funny thing to have.
Yeah.
I can't really talk about it too much. I like Johnny Cash a lot.
Yeah.
I like everything he does, really.
Yeah, I've just begun to pick up on him.
His early records were much better, I think, than his latest records.
Yeah.
Although he's written some fantastic things. He's really written some great things. He wrote a rewrite of Frankie and Johnny. Did you ever hear that?
No.
That's much better than even the traditional version. He wrote Big River and all those songs like that.
What about the Rolling Stones and the Animals? How strongly do you react to them? What they're writing and singing?
The Rolling Stones just recently began to write. I don't think the Animals have ever written anything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the Rolling Stones consider themselves writers or anything.
How about the music itself?
Music is just hard, straight music. It's.
Do you dig it?
Do I personally dig it?
Yeah.
Well, I would. Yeah, I dig some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I dig some of it. Some of the Rolling Stones music. I dig some of the Animals music.
And the Beatles, and you got to see them, I guess, fairly often. In fact, I read somewhere George Harrison, somebody said, "Yeah, what you did mostly was laugh all night."
Yeah, that's true.
What kind of communication's going on there?
No, there's, there's, I don't know about communication. It's just, no, but it's, I could just laugh all night. That's about all.
How do you feel about Lennon and McCartney as writers? Some of the jazz guys are finally finding that their tunes are pretty interesting.
Oh, their tunes are their tunes are really good. Yeah, they're all right.
How would you, now I'm going to ask you to be like a musicologist, but where do all these things fit in? Where's the mainstream in terms of, country and western, rhythm and blues, bluegrass, all that? How do you see it all in some kind of perspective, or does it matter?
It doesn't really matter,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think about it, I don't. What does that mean, mainstream?
I don't know. I never knew.
Well, that puts it in a whole other light.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly wouldn't know. I have no idea.
That stuff to you is just irrelevant. It depends on how it sounds. One thing I wanted to ask about jazz, which seems to have lost the kids entirely. You appeal to them, the Beatles do, the Stones, the Righteous Brothers, but jazz seems to have gone and past the young almost all the way. Why is that?
Well, jazz is. I don't know what you mean by jazz. Like modern jazz
Charlie
kind of
Parker,
thing.
let's say
Charlie
Miles
Parker.
or Thelonious Monk, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know. It's more like a little room kind of thing. I would think. I've been in some of those places, and you got to take the full trip. You can't just come in, in the middle of a song and get excited. You got to start from the beginning, and you got to be ready. It's like you got to sit down there and you got to say, okay, I'm going to read this now. It's music. It's a lot of people really aren't equipped to deal with sounds, in such a way that they can't seem to lead. They can't seem to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas they can only follow straight chords. They don't want to follow anything else. They don't care how far out it is, as long as they can follow it in some kind of way. Like a lot of jazz, you just can't follow.
Mm-hmm.
You can, if you sit down and just take it from the beginning and do that. But that's hard. That's work.
Yeah.
Who really wants to do that?
What do you figure your songs are at all work? Like the images sometimes?
No, that might be work, but they're all easy to follow.
Yeah, musically.
Yeah. They're all easy to follow. I know because I can follow them.
Yeah.
I can't. And if I can follow them, then anybody can follow them.
You're through the protest thing, but what's your reaction to this growing thing, like Eve of Destruction? Somebody like P.F. Sloan who says his inspiration comes from being bugged most of the time. You think this is a passing thing?
Yeah, that's passing. That'll just go so long. That protest thing, it'll, Eve of Destruction, it's nice, it's good that stuff like that is being on the radio, but it's, I don't know what it means. It's protests music, and protest music is, we've been playing protest music. This has been at New York for 5 years.
Yeah.
That comes from California. That's the whole California thing now. Which when California gets hit to something, they really go all out,
Mm-hmm.
and
Why do you think it's going to fade away?
well, because people are just gonna get tired of it, they get tired of anything. They don't want to hear stuff all the time. you know, protesting all the time. I mean, you know.
Do you think the kids who buy the records like Eve of Destruction buy it because they agree with what the guy's saying?
No, I think that was a good song. That was hard. That was exciting.
But
That was the you know, I mean, you get sick of it too. I mean, you get sick of "I Got You, Babe." You know, you get sick of you get sick of anything. You know,
Yeah.
anything you're gonna get sick of. Doesn't matter what it is.
But I mean, some of the other songs that aren't as good musically as Eve of Destruction. Do you think the kids are digging the message, or is it just part of the fad?
Yeah, well, it's better to have them buying those things, I guess, and thinking about something. But you know, like "Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes,"
Yeah.
like Carl Perkins, man. You know, like there's no comparison in which is better. You know, absolutely no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like "Don't Step on My Blue Suede Shoes," sung by Carl Perkins. You know, is you know, that's really, you know, more listenable. You know, or you can see more in that, or I can. You know, and I could in Eve of Destruction. Only just because my mind works that way. A lot of people, you know, can't really see as much in that, you know.
We started off talking about, you know, people like Cole Porter and Gershwin. Do you think it's accurate to say that what's happening now on records is a lot closer to reality than the Porter, Vincent Newman things, which was really kind of for a small group of sophisticates living pretty well?
Well, that's the same way as everybody. That's even all the poetry books, you know, even all the books, even all the intellectual books, you know, just appeal to a small group of people.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, T.S. Eliot, you know, Robert Frost, you know, Ezra Pound, you know, all those people. You know, even people, you know, like you know, John Genet, I mean, you know, they all just appeal to a certain crowd of people, you know, and nobody else really, you know, they only sell, you know, a certain amount of books, and they sell them to people who are just going to talk among themselves about it, but they don't really get out into places where people who don't really know each other can, you know, all of a sudden are swarmed over by, you know.
Yeah.
Well, what would happen, you know, if the United States was just all of a sudden Ulysses came on the radio one day, you know, or what would happen, you know, if it was just on the top 40 radio station? What would happen if they played, you know, the movie "We Are All Murderers," man, on a double bill with an Elvis Presley flick?
Yeah.
But it just don't happen, you know.
What would happen?
Well, I don't know, but it actually, I mean, that's, you know, like, why not? Why not do it?
Yeah.
You know, why not play, you know, those kind of things together?
But so anyway, that's why Ralph Gleason keeps writing that what has happened is that popular music has become democratized for the first time. You've got Negro influences and country influences and songs that mean something to the kids. You think that's a fair appraisal?
Yeah, but then again, you know, like, I really have no contact with the kids.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is somebody just is watching, you know, and listening. I would do it, you know, if they didn't. I've always done it, and it's that kind of thing, you know.
Do you have any contact with the kid dance, you know, the new dances, like the dog and the frog?
No, I have no contact with that.
Yeah.
Oh, we go in a lot of the towns. We go to clubs, some of the clubs, and they dance, but I have no contact with those kind of dances. No.
Yeah. You also said that teenagers all talk a different language. Name me a teenager. I have no recollection of being a teenager.
Yeah, well, I told the guy, name me a teenager, you know, name me one teenager that was a teenager, and he couldn't do it, you know.
Yeah.
Name me a teenager. I mean, who knows a teenager, you know? It's like, you know, I asked him what he meant by teenager. And I said, name me a teenager. Who do you mean when you speak of the word teenager?
Yeah.
You know, you're sort of insulting a lot of people there. And like, who really do you mean, you know? And he just couldn't think of anybody that he wanted to insult, so he didn't...
And when you said that you don't recollect being one, that means that when you were 15 or 16, you were Bob Dylan at 15 or 16.
Right, I wasn't a teenager, no.
Yeah. Then he quotes you as talking about enemies. They can crush you, they can kill you and lay out in 42nd Street and put the hoses on you. Who do you figure are your enemies?
The enemies?
Yeah.
The enemies are those people that can crush you and send you to 42nd Street and that kind of stuff. I don't know. The enemies can be, the enemies are the enemies, I don't even know any enemies, but, there's just a lot of people we show without a better name can be referred to as enemies,
How would you characterize them? I mean, what?
Oh, they usually have acid coming out of their ears,
But do you yourself feel that in any specific sense you have enemies either in music or whatever? Anybody
I guess there are a lot of people that want to, see me done away with, and
why?
Well, obvious reasons, because there are people that want to see anybody done away with, but I mean, I can't really think of in terms of that kind of thing,
Yeah. The thing you said to Shelton was, what I write is much more concise now than before. It's not deceiving. What did you mean by deceiving?
Well, deceiving means that, like when I wrote these songs, a lot of those songs I wrote before, they were written, within a small circle of people.
You mean like Masters of War? And
yeah, there was a
Moore?
small circle of people that heard them, and when they were brought finally to the outside, somebody else who heard them just weren't equipped really to take it and know it, the same way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, deceiving is like straightforward, blunt kind of thing, and where somebody else would think that something is happening which isn't happening. Yeah. That's like I can't even remember back then. I can remember in little rooms, writing those things, but I also remember I took the time out to write those things. The other stuff I was doing didn't even resemble those songs at all. They resembled more what I'm writing today in terms of songs, which I wouldn't consider writing them in terms of songs, because I know nobody could,
Yeah. How would you explain the difference, although it's there to hear, but I mean, if you wanted to put it into words?
Between then and now?
Between then and now.
Well, the difference is back then I was me, and now I'm me.
No better answer than that. You mentioned now that, it's hard for you to just go on a bus, let's say, for 3 days. Is there any other way that all the renown has changed your private life? Are you still able to keep a private life to any degree?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, it's I have some private life, but it's just that I don't really get around much,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it stopped because I didn't write it that much, and other people were fooling around with it,
Yeah.
It's really something got messed up.
We were talking about Joan, in terms of her political and all. How about music? Because I remember you once said she changed your definition for a time of what beautiful was, because you thought it had to be ugly.
Well, no, you read that on the back of the liner notes.
Yeah.
I wrote those liner notes. I wrote those liner notes. I can't. Yeah, well, I really don't. I haven't even looked at them. I don't even know what they say.
Yeah. But how do you, in a sense, assess her? And also, what do you think about the fact that she's using more and more of your songs? Do they sound that much different when she does them?
Yeah, she does them okay. There's nothing like that. She sings very well. Certain kind of thing. She sings really, really very good. It's not the kind of thing where you can really listen to all the time, or anything. But it's like it is a thing. It's a thing. It's definitely Joan Baez. It is. It sings validly. And what she does is it's good. It really is. A lot of things she sings aren't that good, but
Have you ever had much conversation with her about nonviolence? She's opening an institute or a training center.
No, I have no. I beat her up once. That's about all.
I take it then that your philosophy doesn't necessarily encompass nonviolence as an absolute.
I've never met any nonviolent person. When I meet somebody that's really nonviolent, I can see how they act. I will then make my decision as to whether nonviolence is is worth it, you know, to anybody at all. But I've never met anybody that's nonviolent.
You want to elaborate on that beating her up, or we just dropped that?
Yeah, I just beat her up, that's all.
Okay.
She wanted me to be nonviolent.
From what you've said, it comes down to, you know, living in the present, not worrying or expending energy on the future. Now, beyond that, and this is a slippery word, but what are your values? Just for yourself, not in terms of what anybody else thinks. I mean, what is meaningful to you in how you live? What makes it, what doesn't make it?
Catch the answer.
Yeah, I started to ask about a hard word to put in the words values. What you live by. It sounds like Reader's Digest, but what makes it and what doesn't in terms of your own feeling about what's worth doing and what isn't worth doing?
Well, anything is worth doing, really. And in terms of the values, I just don't have any values. You know? I really can't, I can't really think of any. I'll do anything once.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like, I just don't have any values, in terms of, values are supposed to raise your standard of being, evidently,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me about my standard of being, I know in my own mind, that I don't want to hurt anybody or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about all I can say about it, But then again, I know a lot of people I hurt that it's not really me that hurts them,
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like, they're just deceived, but like, I haven't hurt them any, you know? But then again, you can actually come out and hurt somebody, Like, I don't really worry too much about people who say they've been hurt by me because, 99 times out of 100, it's not me that hurts them.
Yeah. But that's a value then, isn't it? Not wanting to hurt anybody.
Well, I guess so, but, it's, I mean, I would think that's everybody's thing,
But is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, of course not, but I guess not.
Yeah.
No, well, then even, even that ceases to be of value, when you, even if there is somebody that wants to hurt somebody, like, what if that person goes out and finds somebody that likes to be hurt? And they just keep it there on that level, like, I'll hurt you, and I won't hurt anybody else if you promise not to be hurt by anybody else except me,
What you're saying then is that everything is really relative. There aren't any absolutes.
I would think so.
Yeah. Do you ever envision that you might get interested in politics or in foreign affairs,
No.
like some of the folks thinkers are?
No, that's really not my thing at all.
Yeah.
I can't really see myself up on a platform with ways to help people
Yeah.
that aren't going to get me killed. Really, if I really wanted to help anybody.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if somebody's really got something to say, and they really can help somebody out, and they do it just bluntly, I mean, obviously they're going to be done away with.
Yeah. Do you have any people in public life, not heroes, but people that you especially respect for one reason or another?
In public life?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there are some, but I don't know of any.
Are there any groups or musicians we haven't talked about that you'd have something to say about, like, I don't know, the Righteous Brothers or Sonny and Cher, what you think about what they do?
No, I can't really. They're okay, I don't.
The last thing I wanted to ask was, going back, all the various things that became part of your growing up process as a musician and as a composer. Remember you mentioned Big Joe Williams, among others. How did all this, take shape so far as you can look back?
Well, I just, made up my mind very early that if there's anything you wanted, you know, you really had to make an attempt to sacrifice everything, a lot of things. And there was nothing really that I wanted, because you can look around and see people that've got just about anything you'd want to think to have. And you can see how they are, how they act, and what they're like.
How do they act? I mean, you mean?
Well, they just act very strange. Let's say people, who've got it all, and inheritance and stuff like that, and nice things, and that's all they've got, is there things like that. Well, I didn't want anything like that. I knew that whatever I did, it would be in terms of some kind of creating something. And I don't know what it was, but it was me that did it,
Mm-hmm.
Something which I could also do, just for, me. So I just made up my mind not to have anything,
How old were you when this was?
I don't know, like 18, 17.
Yeah.
I knew there was nothing I wanted,
Material, you mean?
Yeah. And I didn't want anything, and I made it from there. So I just drifted around. I mean, I've been up a lot of times, man, in places with no place to go, and it's been very early morning and stuff like that. And it never fazed me. It was never like, well, here I am, stuck on the highway, bumming down the railroad line, and I feel sad,
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of thing at all. It was like right out of my mind.
Well, does all this bread now, like I read you're going to make $1.5 million in the next 18 months, does that mean anything to you?
Well, yeah, all it does is it enables me to stay away and not get, not really go insane with all the people that grab at you. And it's honest, it's honest bread. I mean, it's honest in terms of, when we're talking about all the bread, what we're talking about is not the concert money or the the record sales money, that stuff. And in terms of the money has come from just writing these songs.
That's where most of it
Yeah,
comes from,
most of it comes from there. And that, all that money, like it's there, I really can't think about it one way or the other.
Do you have that scene where somebody takes care of it and invests it?
Oh yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't own it?
I don't even touch it, man. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to be like that.
What do you think's going to happen to it eventually?
Well, eventually it'll probably just blow away. Back where it came from.
Do you think your renown is going to blow away? The way things sometimes just
Oh,
disappear?
sure. The whole crowd of people just buying the hit records now. Majority of those people probably won't have heard of me for a couple of years. Probably.
And then maybe a new generation of kids might find somebody else.
Yeah, I don't really worry about fading in or fading out, though. That's another thing.
In a way, would you welcome being anonymous again?
Well, I would to a degree, but not really. I mean, I wouldn't want to be anybody except me.
Yeah, I meant anonymous only in the sense that you could walk down the street and...
Oh, yeah, well, anybody would welcome that. That's another thing, but... Then again, being me, I can get all sorts of little things, favors and stuff like that for other people, So that's...
Oh, we didn't go back to the various kinds of music that, as you were growing up, helped shape what you were going to do. Big Joe Williams was one.
Well, that was later. That was when I left there. Well, the only music I heard up until I left Minnesota was I didn't hear any folk music at all.
Yeah.
I just heard country and western music, rock and roll, and polka music.
Who were the ones that you heard then that you especially dug? Country and western, let's say.
Oh, just about all the people. It's Marty Robbins. Not Marty Robbins, I didn't think of him. Lefty Pizzell.
Mm-hmm.
Farron Young. All those people like that.
Rock and roll?
All the people that were around, Elvis Presley, and Carl Perkins, Gene Vincent, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis.
And then what was added on, like in the folk field?
Well, then it came down to the fact that to make it alone, you had to, play alone. So you discovered folk music where people actually played alone.
Mm-hmm.
Then, first it started with, Odetta. No, it starts with Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
Of course, it starts with Harry Belafonte. You hear him, and right away you know that he's not really where it's at.
Why?
Well, I mean, you know right away. I mean, you haven't got that much time to spend on Harry Belafonte. I mean, you know that he just doesn't know that many songs.
Yeah. No Detta.
No Detta, and you go through these stages. Josh White. So finally, you arrive at Woody Guthrie, who sounds pretty weird.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously who looks like looks like you to some kind of degree. And I went through all Woody Guthrie songs, and then the folk music, which I'd heard somewhat to a degree.
Yeah.
I knew people that sung Barbara Allen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I listened to all that music. And a lot of it I've heard before. I mean, I really actually have heard before. I've actually heard old people singing a lot of the folk songs. That like Lord Thomas and stuff like that. I've heard these songs before when I was young.
I mean, around where you grew up?
Yeah, I've heard people sing. I never paid much attention, to people that did it, but people, the people sitting in their porches, man. Sometimes, when you walk by, they wouldn't be singing anything that you hear on the radio. They'd be singing folk songs,
Yeah.
But who wanted to hear them, man? Like they were a drag, But I remember hearing them,
Yeah.
there was stuff like that.
After Guthrie, was there anybody particular?
No, not really. Woody Guthrie really hasn't influenced that. Where what I'm doing now, he hasn't had much to do with the influence of these past two records. In fact, he really hasn't had any influence at all on the past two records.
Yeah, I haven't heard any.
The influence has all been on the first record, second record,
Yeah.
third record. The fourth one was kind of wearing off a little bit, but that was still confined to the folk music circle. When I say influence, I mean total influence. I mean either writing or singing.
Yeah.
I mean his influence is in his manner of speaking.
Yeah.
His influence is in his topics that he writes about. His influence lies in his phrasing, and stuff like that. Now there's really no influence in him. I don't know what it is anymore. It's not influenced by him really at all as much as the songs are influenced by sounds.
Sounds.
Yeah, the songs are just like opening up a window, and just looking out on the street, like it's all going to be a different street.
Yeah.
Or just being out on the street, just a whole kind of thing, which is not a thing to write about. I don't write about anything anymore. The songs aren't about anything.
Yeah, there's a kind of surrealistic feeling, especially in the last record. What you get are all kinds of images getting together. It's a very provocative kind of thing.
Well, they're not really images to me.
Yeah.
I know what they are. They're real.
Yeah.
They might be images to other people who've never seen them. But I know what those things are. When it comes time for me to be an image maker, man, you're really going to hear some fantastic images. But up till now, there's been no images, really.
Yeah. Well, how do you define an image maker?
Something which I haven't seen,
Yeah. Oh, I see, where it comes entirely out of your imagination.
Yeah. These songs are not out of my imagination.
Out of experience.
Yeah, we can call it experience, I guess, or something.
Yeah. What you've seen or whatever.
Yeah.
How do you feel when you hear kids coming up now who try to sound like you? All of a sudden you're an influence.
I'd like that. I'd rather have them have me for an influence than, Harold Baker, or Warren Beatty or somebody like that.
Yeah. It's like I wanted to be sure I was clear on one thing. You feel more like performing now because the group's with you, which means that there's less of that kind of pressure.
Yeah,
of being
also
so
because I
soloist.
just want to. I really dig it, I dig it, and the halls are all very full, and it's just a thing now. I always wanted to do it,
Why do you think it's become more fun for you in the last?
Well, it's good because I'm more in control. I know what it's. I know more. It's like I know what I'm doing. Before I used to do it, it just happened. Like you want a concert for a long time. And the first big concert I played in was in Philadelphia. And we just went there, in the car, and then I got out, took the guitar, and went up to the stage and sang for about 3.5 hours. I didn't know what I was going to sing. I was just standing there trying to think of things to sing.
Yeah.
I just, and then after the concert, I just put the guitar back in and I left.
Mm-hmm.
That was at Town Hall. And,
Philadelphia, or?
yeah, in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then we had one next night, and it was like the same thing. That was fine for them, but I couldn't keep on doing that. I couldn't do that nowadays. I wear off my clothes every time I get on stage. I can't,
You mean there's that much wear and tear? Or?
Well, yeah, it's either that or else I play it now, Now it's like I'm not just standing there and thinking of what to play. Like, it's all down now, and I know it, sort of, and...
You're a professional.
Well, I hate to think of myself in terms of that. I hate to think of myself of that, really.
Do you think of yourself in terms of being a folk singer? Does that term mean anything to you?
No, it means absolutely nothing to me, folk singer. I know what folk music is, that's why I really can't call myself a folk singer.
Why?
Well, it's like, people, they're talking about folk music nowadays, like most of the people are talking about, I don't even know what they're talking about, it's like when they always say that in folk music you can keep something simple, so the people can understand it, right? Actually they're insulting a bunch of people by calling them people, right? And so the people can understand it, whereas when they really want to look at folk music and the folk songs, there are some really strange, weird folk songs, that have come down through the ages, based on nothing, based on a legend or Bible or plague or religion, and just based on mysticism. There are a lot of those folk songs, really a lot of them. But and it's I don't understand what all this business is. You gotta just keep things simple. This is like a labor movement kind of thing, which is all just total waste.
Yeah.
Look at all these labor people. They're all rich suburb people who told their kids not to buy Bob Dylan records.
You mean the ones who came up with the simple labor songs of the 30s?
Yeah, which side are you on? I'll ask now, which side are you on? And which side can you be on? I mean, it's really only two sides to anything,
Why don't you consider yourself a folk singer then, in terms of what you know about folk music?
Well, because I got a very deep respect for it. I respect folk music. I mean, I really do. It's great. It's great music. There's no doubt about it. I'd rather listen to it sometimes than anything. But it's not a thing to play with. You can't play around with it and have folk song groups and have folk gatherings and sing a bunch of folk songs. It's not that kind of thing at all. And, it's just not that. People have just lost the point. That is not the point of what a folk song is and who a folk singer is,
What is the point, and who is a folk singer?
Well, you have a lot of these people in the South who just sit around on places and they don't want to be bothered with any collectors or Alan Lomaxes or anything like that. Man, they're not going to sing any songs over tape recorders.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. They sit around, and they can sing all by themselves, or if somebody's in the room, they won't even know you. They're like a writer. They're like totally in a world of their own. And they sing songs about things which mean something to them, but don't mean a thing to anybody else. They talk about roses growing out of people's brains, and lovers who are geese, and and swans who turn into angels, and some very hard stuff, much more harder than that. They really talk about things which they know about, or if they don't know about, can feel it. That's what folk music. That's a folk song. A folk singer singing a folk song. That's what I would think of. I certainly wouldn't think of any, 22-year-old kid going to a labor rally and singing some union songs.
You mean a folk singer is where it comes out of a whole a whole world, really. It's background.
It's a whole world in somebody's head,
Yeah.
Whether a folk singer, it can be a gas station man, really, we don't have to call folk singers, Southern Mountain Farmers. We don't have to call a folk song, a song that has been living for, 1,800 years. We can call anything folk song,
Providing it's
providing that it is in a rhythm of its own and in a time of its own, and somebody else is whoever listens to it is allowed to listen to it. You know,
Allowed? You mean
they're allowed to listen to it, not even to make a comment on it.
it's not?
No,
It's
like-
not a performance, in other words.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a
yeah.
performance at all.
Then what do you call yourself or consider yourself?
Well, obviously, when I'm on the stage, I'm performing. Now, the records aren't performances. We could have made this last record a lot better than we did, but it's all down there. You know.
But are you a folk singer then on the records?
No, I'm not a folk singer really at all. You know, I'm not. I could call myself a folk singer. I mean, if it would mean anything, but it doesn't mean anything.
What do you call yourself?
I don't call myself anything. I mean, I really don't. I'm sort of a slot machine wonder.
Yeah,
But
what do you mean?
I don't really have any
Kinda
titles which I would really want to claim. You know.
Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked that you think would be relevant or irrelevant?
I don't know. Well, no, it's really. I don't know. Somehow even the idea of where this is even going to go. This interview is just.
Say some more about that. I want to see. I want to see if they're
I
relevant.
who's even going to read it. You know, I mean, like you take the kind of people that are going to read it.
Yeah.
And how much is a magazine? First of all, it costs what? You know, $1 or something.
$1.25 or something like that.
You know, I mean, there's going to be a certain kind of people that's going to read that magazine.
$75.
So it's certainly,
3 million.
I don't want to,
Yeah.
it's fine that I'm in the magazine, maybe make some bunny chicks someplace, to be in the magazine, but like I don't see anything that's really going to be done, anybody's going to know anything, because I don't know where the outlet is for what I do,
Mhm.
The only outlet I know of is the records, and I don't know who buys the records. Just think of the magazine, I have no idea really who buys a magazine, except that I know it's a very funny looking group of people. I mean, people which I don't really associate with. I don't know anybody that associates with.
Yeah.
And we go to towns and we see the Playboy clubs.
Yeah.
And we see the people who are going to the Playboy clubs, but God, man, like this, it's who wants to go in a Playboy club,
Yeah. You said, and this is the very last thing, do you think anything can be done by any one person to change anything?
Well, I don't know, like, I used to spend, it's about to change things, used to be that for days and days I would walk around in the same clothes, Like nowadays I change clothes, once a day. And, if I can possibly get to it, I change them more, And I think that's a big step.
That's about the
for me.
that's about the one possibility of change.
And that's about the only change I see. The other change is destruction,
And you think that might happen?
Well, I don't think it'll happen here. I just don't think people are ready for it. I don't think everybody is so destructive as it is that if anybody wants to destroy something, there are enough people around to destroy whatever it destroys.
Yeah.
But if you want to change something, then what's all this talk in business? You want to change something, you just wham, you just destroy it. Or else don't talk about it.
Or sing about it.
Right?
Thank you very much. You had a lot of patience.